What do you call a narcissist buried up to his neck in sand? Not enough sand. Welcome to the Narc Whisperer channel, where we take a lighthearted look at some heavy topics. Today, we're exploring the crucial role of boundaries in relationships, especially those involving narcissists. We'll discuss what healthy and unhealthy boundaries look like before, during, and even after a narcissistic relationship. So buckle up, let's dive deep into the sandpit of narcissism and boundaries. Ever tried teaching a cat not to jump on the counter? Well, setting boundaries with a narcissist can feel a bit like that. Picture this. You're trying to enjoy your morning coffee, and the cat, in all its feline audacity, leaps onto the counter, knocking over your mug. You tell it no, maybe even sprinkle a little water its way, but does it listen? Nope. It gives you that look, you know the one, and hops right back up there the minute your back is turned. Now imagine that cat is a narcissist. Instead of the counter, we're talking about your emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical boundaries. And just like that cat, the narcissist has an uncanny knack for pushing limits, testing waters, and tiptoeing over lines drawn in the sand. Boundaries are crucial for healthy relationships. They're like the walls of a house, keeping the good stuff in and the not-so-good stuff out. They help us maintain our self-respect, our sanity, and our overall well-being. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, those walls might as well be made of marshmallows. You see, to a narcissist, boundaries are less like walls and more like suggestions, like a speed limit sign to a race car driver. They see it, they acknowledge it, and then they zoom right past it without a second thought. You can wave your arms, shout, and plead all you want, but in their world, your boundaries are just cute little speed bumps on their road to getting what they want. Navigating a relationship with a narcissist can feel like a never-ending game of cat and mouse, where you're constantly trying to enforce boundaries that keep getting ignored. It's exhausting, it's frustrating, and it can feel downright impossible at times. But here's the thing. Just like with that stubborn cat, the problem isn't with your boundaries. It's with the narcissist's inability, or rather unwillingness, to respect them. Like that cat, a narcissist might look at your boundaries and say, "Oh, you thought that was for me? How cute." Scene script. Imagine if you could install an invisible fence for narcissists, like the ones they have for dogs. Wouldn't that be something? Let's take a fun journey through the land of healthy boundaries. Picture yourself as the proud owner of a beautiful, lush garden. It's your personal sanctuary, filled with vibrant flowers, lush greenery, and tranquility. But alas, there's a pesky narcissist who loves to trample on your roses, pick your daisies, and leave your garden in disarray. What do? You install an invisible fence. An invisible fence for narcissists isn't a physical barricade, but a set of healthy boundaries. It's like a force field that protects your mental and emotional garden from those who don't respect your space. Let's talk about consistency. Imagine if your invisible fence had a habit of disappearing every other day. That wouldn't be very effective, would it? Consistency is the key to a strong, invisible fence. It's about saying no when you mean no and yes when you mean yes. It's about sticking to your guns, even when the narcissist tries to bulldoze through your boundaries. Next, we have respect. No, not just respect for others, but respect for yourself. You see, your invisible fence isn't just about keeping the narcissist out. It's about creating a space that honors and nurtures you. When you respect yourself enough to maintain your boundaries, you tell the world, "I value my peace and well-being." And then there's self-care. This is the maintenance part of your invisible fence. Just like any fence, it needs regular upkeep. Self-care is the oil that keeps your invisible fence running smoothly. It's about taking time for yourself, doing what makes you happy, and ensuring your emotional and mental well-being. When you combine consistency, respect, and self-care, you create a strong, effective, invisible fence. It's not about shutting people out, it's about protecting your space and your peace. And when you have this fence in place, you'll find that the narcissist, much like a stray dog, will eventually learn to respect your boundaries. With the invisible fence installed, you'll find that narcissists, much like stray dogs, will eventually learn to keep their distance. Ever seen a dam with a leak? That's what an unhealthy boundary looks like. A little pressure and it all comes flooding out. Picture this, a rubber duck floating on a pond, all cute and innocent, right? But let's say that rubber duck starts to push against the dam, just a little at first. What happens? The dam, not built to withstand the pressure, starts to leak. That's how unhealthy boundaries work. They may seem fine when things are calm and ducky, but under the slightest bit of pressure, they start to crumble. Unhealthy boundaries are like a dam made of Play-Doh. They seem solid, but apply a little force, and they morph into something entirely different. They're like a one-way street sign that keeps flipping directions, causing chaos and confusion. One moment you're headed north, the next you're going south, and before you know it, you're spinning in circles, utterly lost. What's the fallout of these flip-flopping boundaries, you ask? Well, they can lead to toxic relationships faster than a cheetah on a caffeine high. You see, when boundaries are inconsistent or non-existent, it's like rolling out a red carpet for a narcissist. They'll waltz right in, take center stage, and before you know it, you're playing a supporting role in your own life story. Unhealthy boundaries invite manipulation, control, and power struggles into your relationships. They're like a welcome sign on your front door that reads, "Come on in, take advantage of my kindness, and make yourself at home." Not exactly the house guests you were hoping for, right? But here's the kicker. Just like that leaky dam, an unhealthy boundary won't hold up to a narcissist's pressure. Sooner or later, the dam will break, and you'll be left navigating the aftermath. But don't worry, we have the tools to patch it up. Remember, it's not about building a dam of steel that keeps everyone out, but rather constructing healthy, flexible boundaries that allow for mutual respect and understanding. Because, let's face it, no one wants to be the rubber duck floating in a flooded pond. So the narcissist is gone, and you're left with a fence that looks like Swiss cheese. Time to get to work. Imagine this. Your fence, once sturdy and reliable, now resembles a block of Swiss cheese. It's full of holes, thanks to a narcissist who used every tool in the shed to chip away at your boundaries. But fear not, it's time to roll up your sleeves and start rebuilding. Think of your boundaries as a DIY project. It's a bit like creating a piece of art. You're going to need some tools, a blueprint, and a whole lot of patience. First off, let's grab our toolkits. You need self-awareness, self-care, and a good dose of self-love. These will be your hammers, nails, and planks of wood. Self-awareness will help you identify where the holes are. Self-care will provide the materials to patch them up. And self-love? Well, that's the protective varnish to keep your fence strong and shiny. Next, you need your blueprint. This is where your support network comes in. Friends, family, therapists, or even your favorite self-help book can provide the guidance you need to design your new and improved boundary fence. But remember, rebuilding isn't a race. It's okay if your fence doesn't look like a fortress overnight. After all, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your boundaries be. This is a journey, not a sprint. Now don't forget, humor is an excellent tool in our arsenal. It lightens the load and makes the process a little less daunting. So feel free to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Your fence might look like a doodle by a 5-year-old now, but with time and effort, it'll be a masterpiece. Lastly, remember to celebrate your progress. Each plank you nail back into place, each hole you patch up, is a victory. It's a sign of your resilience, your strength, and your determination to build a healthier, happier life. With a bit of work, your fence will be stronger than ever and ready to keep out any narcissist who thinks they can waltz back into your life. We've laughed, we've cried, we've built some fences and patched some dams. Now what? Well, let's take a quick stroll down memory lane. We started off by painting a vivid picture of the love-hate roller coaster that often characterizes narcissistic relationships. The highs are breathtaking, but the lows, they can feel like a plunge into an abyss. We then discussed the concept of boundaries, those invisible fences that protect our emotional and mental well-being. We've learned that in a narcissistic relationship, these fences can be trampled over, leading to a situation akin to a leaky dam. The water seeping out symbolizes our energy, self-esteem, and happiness. But it's not all doom and gloom. We've also talked about rebuilding those fences, about setting healthy boundaries that can safeguard us from narcissistic tendencies. It's about taking our power back and creating a safe space for ourselves. So, what's next? Well, it's time to take action. It's time to take those lessons to heart and start building or reinforcing your boundaries. Remember, it's not about changing the other person, but about protecting yourself. And just like that, we've come to the end of our journey today. But before we part ways, here's a nugget of wisdom to take home. Remember, a narcissist without boundaries is like a cat on a counter. Don't let them get comfortable. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can join us next time on The Narc Whisperer.